laboratory for the 2016 Alberta Climate Summit. Thank you as well to the Pembina Institute team for their return invitation. And thank you to the entire team, all of the conference organizers. I know that these are big jobs to do, for bringing together Albertans from a wide range of backgrounds for critical and thoughtful discussions moving us forward. We have a lot to talk about in terms of energy, the environment, and the economy. Albertans face challenges in each of these areas. Climate change is real. It would seem in 2016 we shouldn't have to continue to say it, but for those of you who watch Question Period, or have the misfortune to stumble upon the opposition's Twitter feed, you'll know that this needs repeating. Climate change is dangerous and becoming ever more so. The numbers tell a story of relentlessly rising temperatures. We are again living through what may prove to be the hottest year on record. Rising temperatures bring rising concerns for Alberta, ranging from increased risk of flood and drought to new invasive species that can cause significant economic damage. The Insurance Bureau of Canada has reported that severe weather has caused over $10 billion of damage since 1998. Losses from natural catastrophes in Canada are jeopardizing more property, more livelihoods, more lives. Hunting and fishing are also at risk from rapidly changing climate. Trout Unlimited reported almost a decade ago that, quote, global warming is the greatest threat to trout throughout the Rocky Mountain region. It is now clear, now more than ever, that Alberta has an undeniable responsibility to do our fair share to lower our emissions. At the same time, our province has taken a huge hit from the oil price shock. And there is an urgent need to get our province back on its feet and put people back to work. Those are not contradictory goals, and neither can be ignored or delayed any longer. Climate change was put on the international radar at the Rio Summit in 1992. No responsible government or corporation can reasonably claim that now is the time to continue to wait. And after 25 years, action now is not a surprise. Since 1992, scientists have only learned more and more about climate change and are consistently finding that climate change is happening faster, more unpredictably, and more dangerously than previously thought. It is happening now. This summer, the planet posted the hottest July on record, and June, and May. Hotter than the summer of 2015, and hotter than 2014, which at that time were the highest temperatures on record. In July, James Hansen, the former NASA climatologist who brought climate change to the public's attention in the summer of 1988, issued a bombshell. He and a team of climate scientists had identified a new feedback mechanism off the coast of Antarctica that suggests sea levels could rise 10 times faster than previously predicted, 10 feet by 2065. My children will be middle-aged in 2065. The authors included this chilling warning. If emissions aren't cut, quote, we conclude that multi-meter sea level rise would become practically unavoidable. Social disruption and economic consequences of such large sea level rise could be devastating. It's not difficult to imagine, the scientists wrote, that conflicts arising from forced migrations and economic collapse might make the planet ungovernable, threatening the fabric of civilization. My children will be middle-aged. Meanwhile, the Canadian Medical Association has stated that by amplifying existing health hazards, climate change is increasingly recognized as a significant threat facing society, has the potential to be one of the greatest threats to human health in the 21st century. I begin today with this outline because the days of climate change denial are over in Alberta, and they are over in Canada. This is a new development, but it is here to stay. The good news is that Albertans are doers. We solve problems, we don't run away from them. This government will not gamble Alberta's future on inaction. Alberta must and will chart a course to a low-carbon future, one that embraces and builds off our traditional strengths of innovation, entrepreneurialism, and cooperation. It is up to all of us, public and private sector, workers, employers, investors, to come up with solutions. We all have a stake in success, and we all lose in the event of failure. And that won't happen. We will be the example to the world. Alberta will be the energy-producing jurisdiction that takes a leadership role on climate change. We will accomplish what everyone thought could not be done. As Jack Layton once said, do not ever let them tell you it can't be done. So to that end, as all of you in this room know, one of the first things we did as a government was to convene an expert panel to help us chart a course. You can see the results in the Climate Leadership Plan, the core of our approach to energy, the environment, and the economy. The plan is founded on reducing emissions as efficiently and effectively as possible. Until now, it was free to emit carbon into the atmosphere, even though we know that there is a real cost to doing so. And so a cornerstone of Alberta's Climate Leadership Plan is to correct that market failure and put an economy-wide price on carbon. The White House regularly publishes what it estimates to be the social cost of carbon emissions. This is an estimate of the cost that society will bear as a result of the cumulative health, environmental, and economic risks I began with today. In 2016, the White House estimates the societal price of a ton of CO2 is $36 US, just over 47.50 Canadian. Alberta is not there, but we are starting at a price of $20 per ton in January, rising to $30 per ton the following year. We know that pricing carbon is an essential first step in a climate plan. It is no surprise, and the federal government is also taking this step, as they indicated this weekend. Having already taken a climate leadership position, Alberta is well prepared for whatever comes out of Ottawa, and that is why we legislated that carbon revenues are reinvested right here in Alberta. Taken on its own, carbon pricing is not the only step. Our plan will also tackle other challenges head-on, where we know we have the technologies and the know-how to solve them. Some of those include eliminating emissions from coal-fired power plants by 2030, which will also reduce the health risks from harmful air pollutants. We will place a limit on fossil fuel emissions in Canada from oil sands emissions to encourage innovation and efficiency. We'll triple our use of renewable energy to achieve 30% by 2030, creating new opportunities for over $10 billion in investment. And we've created the first Crown agency in Alberta dedicated to energy efficiency. Finally, we'll reduce emissions from methane, an extremely potent greenhouse gas, from 45% from 2014 levels by 2025. Everyone here is well aware of the outline of the plan. Many of you contributed to it, whether by participating in engagement sessions, completing the online survey, sending submissions to the panel. Some of you in the room were even panel members, and I thank you for your service. You made the Climate Leadership Plan what it is, and if it sounds like a huge amount of work to implement, you are right, it is. So I'd like to update you on some of the things you'll be seeing very soon. Taking climate change seriously means it is not something that is simply confined to the Environment Minister, but rather it is a key focus of many of my colleagues. Energy Minister McQuaid-Boyd is working closely with the electricity system operator on how we get to 30% renewables in a competitive and low-cost manner. We will be announcing details very soon on this process, including finding new opportunities for communities and cooperatives to participate in our province's clean energy future. Minister McQuaid-Boyd is also leading a review of our province's microgeneration policy to empower individuals and small businesses to take advantage of some of Canada's best solar resources that are found right here in Alberta. Agriculture and Forestry Minister Carlier has also already expanded the province's farm efficiency and solar programs. He's met with greenhouse operators, poultry, pork and livestock producers, and many others, and will soon have more to say about our next steps to lower on-farm energy costs. The Minister of Indigenous Relations is moving forward with a comprehensive engagement plan with Indigenous communities, including engaging with elders and community members on issues related to adaptation, economic opportunities, and, of course, climate literacy. You may have also heard just yesterday, Economic Development and Trade Minister Phillips announced the creation of a new innovation panel chaired by Gord Lambert. Members of the panel will examine the role government can play in fostering and supporting technology innovation that we will need to move together to tackle climate change and diversify our economy. We also created an expert panel on energy efficiency that spent the summer touring the province and listening to Albertans in open houses. Members of the panel also engaged with school boards, municipalities, small business, and nonprofit and voluntary sector, as well as students who shared their ideas for early action on energy-saving programs and small-scale renewable energy policies. That panel will wrap up its work this fall, enabling the new Crown agency, Energy Efficiency Alberta, to implement programs early in the new year of 2017. Finally, we have taken the unprecedented step of putting oil companies, First Nations, local community leaders, and environmental organizations around the same table with government to try to solve what has for too long been perceived as unbending differences in the oil sands. The Oil Sands Advisory Group's first task will be to provide advice on the implementation of our 100 megaton emissions limit from the oil sands. They will also provide government with advice on investing carbon levy revenues in new technologies to reduce the emissions intensity of energy production to stay under that limit. Further, we're looking to them for advice on how to address the cumulative effects of energy development: air, water quality, biodiversity. We expect their initial advice by the end of the year. There are those in Alberta and elsewhere who believe we shouldn't bring these voices together. But those conversations had already started among environmental groups and oil companies on their own in 2014. Those conversations had simply been missing a willing partner, a government wanting to listen to solutions. In their 2015 sustainability report, Shannon Phillips, themselves a participant in those early conversations, described it this way. Initial conversations weren't easy. The groups discovered areas of common ground. Both wanted Alberta and Canada to have a strong economy, agreed that climate change issues should be addressed, and that they had to work together to find workable solutions. The groups were able to work together and agree on recommendations that the Alberta government decided to include in its new climate leadership plan. In addition to achieving progressive policy, the conflict and rhetoric regarding oil sands development has de-escalated. In other words, the battle has shifted. Instead of fighting against each other, we are all on the same team, fighting against climate change while keeping Alberta prosperous. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. We know how urgent acting on climate change is, and after years of idling, we are now firing on all cylinders. We are doing all of this in a highly polarized political environment, where the political right in this province can barely conceal their contempt for Premier Notley and her government. And as we move back into the legislature, you will all hear over and over again that now is not the right time for action. For some, there will never be a right time. If given the chance, the political right would go about systemically dismantling all of this progress, including the investments in Alberta's economy and the new opportunities in diverse new industries and diversification of existing ones. Now, the rejection of climate science south of the border in the United States may be a little more blatant than looking for endless delays, but the polarized environment in the United States has not stopped American governments at both state and federal levels from taking action. For example, coal-fired electricity has declined by 20% in the last 3 years and is no longer the leading source of electricity in the USA, as thousands of megawatts of coal power plants are being phased out. This is the reason investment houses on Wall Street, such as JP Morgan, Chase, Morgan Stanley, are no longer financing coal-fired power plants. Calls to delay climate action stand in stark contrast to our oil sands operators themselves in this province. For example, from their 2015 sustainability report, Shannon Phillips, again, writes, "We don't debate the science behind climate change and recognize that human activity is a contributor to GHGs in the atmosphere." Or Suncor's Steve Williams, who just this month said, "Climate change is real. Doing nothing is not an option." The traditional oil and gas companies understand climate change is real and that inaction is not an option. Why are Conservatives so committed to doing nothing? What this accomplished before was to make Alberta an international laggard. Not only was our reputation badly damaged for our customers, but Albertans were led to a dead end. A boom and bust economy that put many families in financial difficulty while wishing a magic wand could be waved to sequester our environmental realities. Leadership is hard, but the climate challenge requires all hands on deck. We can't afford to vilify our fellow citizens because they have a different political stripe, or work for a different part of the economy, or have a different approach to solving these issues. That's a huge, huge mistake. We need to take the posturing out of this issue and tackle the extremely difficult questions together. That is the only way we will achieve thoughtful answers. So, is the province of Alberta done yet? No. But we have moved Alberta into a position of advice giver rather than order taker. No other example is better than methane. In March, Canada and the United States came to a methane reduction agreement that built on Alberta's leadership efforts that we announced in late 2015. And the fact that Canada, the United States, and Mexico have now agreed to reduce methane emissions on a continental basis shows that what is possible when collaboration and ambition are put ahead of rhetoric. So have we fixed every environmental challenge yet in 15, 16 months? No. But Alberta is a can-do province. For too long, we've been told that climate change is something we can't do or we can't address. But you know, if this was easy, it would be solved by now. What we have learned as a government is that when we lead, Albertans and Alberta companies are ready to rise to the challenge. Have we as a government answered all of the questions yet? No. But in everything our government does, you can see a pattern. Engagement and cooperation come before and after government decisions. And Albertans deserve a say in the choices that change their lives. Industry, communities, First Nations, and workers will continue to help shape the policies that shape Alberta's future. The transition to a carbon-competitive economy is essential. Can we do this? Yes. And there is no other way for us to build it than together. The best approaches will emerge in talks, debates, meetings, and forums like the Pembina Institute's Climate Summit. They will be informed by data and science, as well as traditional knowledge and technical experience. Albertans have proven time and again that we can innovate and take risks and solve problems. Climate change poses a significant risk, but it also creates new opportunities, new ideas, new partnerships. Now is the time. Alberta is ready. Thank you.